Hi everybody, I'm Spike Brave. In this video what I'd like to talk about is how the Battlemech's legs and torsos work together when moving your machine. I see this being a pain point for some newer players who don't quite understand how that works, why it works the way it does, and how it's different from some of the other video games out there. So we'll spend some time talking about those subjects. I do want to warn you this will probably be a longer video and it won't cover all of the movement topics. Really what I want to discuss here is how our legs work and how our torsos work and how those work together and how it's different from other games and the reasons why. So keep that in mind if you're looking for some real detailed stuff about baby jump jets or your throttle. This isn't the video that you want. I will do more videos about movement in the future, but today we're just going to talk about how our legs and how our torso works, and of course some of the lore. Now I'm going to do real abbreviated lore things, so if you want to know more about the lore that I'm talking about, leave me a note in the comments below and I'll expand upon any subjects you guys seem interested in. So let's talk about our Battlemech. And first of all, let's go to the faction play tab and we'll talk a little bit about the lore. So, way back when there was a Star League, if you're not familiar with that, there was a Star Empire that was this entire map. This whole map was the Star League. In the middle here we have Earth, and just a small area around that was considered what's called the Terran hegemony. That was the core of Star League, and they wanted to maintain the military superiority over who would become the successor states. So all these other factions you can pick who aren't clans. So they decided to build Battlemechs because their army was smaller. They figured rather than having a large tank crew, they could put one guy in a Battlemech and he could bring all the firepower of a tank and more to the battlefield and be less susceptible to damage. Tanks are easy to disable, it's easy to kill their crew, it's really hard to kill the MechWarriors. So they thought that building man-shaped machines would give them an advantage. Those would go on to become the kings of the battlefield in the Battletech universe. Now, I will stop there real quick and say that's the lore. I totally get that if you're looking at real world stuff, picking a humanoid robot probably isn't the best for that, but then you don't have cool stompy robots blowing each other up in a video game, so we'll forgive them that one. So, let's talk about how our legs work, why they work the way they do, and how that differs from some other games. So, if we look at our legs, you can see they're connected to the side torsos by a pivot joint. So right here on this particular Battlemech, so what's going to let this Battlemech do is move its leg forward or backwards, but not sidestep. So this is a difference we see in a lot of other video games. A lot of people consider MechWarrior Online to be a first-person shooter. Some people consider it to be a vehicle sim. I'm with the vehicle sim crowd, but however you perceive it, doesn't really matter. But if we talk about the WASD keys in a lot of games like that, if we hit A or D, we sidestep. Battlemechs aren't physically constructed to do that. Sidestepping in a machine that you're trying to keep upright, that's moving really fast, that weighs a lot, you're probably going to put a lot of stress on that joint. You won't be able to armor it as well, so it becomes a huge weak point. So the designers of the Battlemechs decided that the legs only move forward and backwards so they could protect them better. So when a Battlemech turns, really what it does is it uses its knee joint a little bit, its ankle joint a little bit to kind of angle its foot in a different direction, and then you lean into the turn. That works, and that's how Battlemechs move. This goes also to the board game. This is based on a board game called Battletech, if you're unfamiliar with that. And how Battlemechs move in that is you're moving your pieces along a hexagon or several hexagons on a map. Every time you want your Battlemech to change facing, so turn, you have to spend a movement point. So that stays in line with that of Battlemechs have to turn the whole thing before they can step forward. So that's how that works. So keep that in mind. No sidestepping. You only go forward and backwards, and then you kind of gently turn the direction you're going. So, as I said here, we've got that pivot joint here. Let's look at some other mechs and we'll see that that stays to be the case on all the Battlemechs. So let's look at this Commando. And we'll pull him up so we can get a look at him. You can see here's his pivot joint. Now, probably the best examples that you can see of this in game, though, is if we go to our clan mechs and we'll pick the Sergeant Cheetah and we'll go back. You can actually see it really well here. You can see there's the pivot. This even kind of looks like a screw here. And probably the best example in the game, in my opinion, if we go medium and we look at the Nova Battlemech, you can see that he's got a pivot joint right there and there. So these legs only go forward and backwards. So I'll keep that in mind. So the next thing that we want to talk about is our torsos. Now, they tried to make Battlemechs, and by they I mean the Terran Hegemony when they were first designing them, to be like a person. Well, if I'm walking down the street and I want to look at something on the right-hand side of the street, I turn my neck to look over there. Well, Battlemechs don't have necks. You can see here's the head of this Battlemech. Yeah, no neck. Probably something that could be done, but they decided it was too much of a weak point to put a neck on a Battlemech. So what Battlemechs do is they turn at the torso. Now humans do too, but Battlemechs turn way farther. So when a Battlemech wants to look to its right, it turns its entire upper body and looks that way. So keep that in mind. It's just like how a person works, except you're just turning your whole chest in the direction that you want to look. So you can see right here, he's got this ring right there. And that's where he's going to pivot. So when we torso twist, this ring is the area of the Battlemech that forms the pivot point. And if we look at other Battlemechs, we'll see that ring again. So let's go back to our Arctic Cheetah. There we go. We can see the ring again. Right there's his ring. So by using your legs moving forward or backwards, and then twisting your torso, that's how you can align your Battlemech to face an enemy target. Or keep your weapons on them at least. Maybe you don't want to face them, maybe you want to take a pot shot as you're on by, but that's how our Battlemech's legs and waist work together. Now, if you're curious about this information and how it applies to your Battlemech, come down here to the mech stats, click on this, open it up, and come to this section right here. This tells you about your Battlemech's movement at its waist. So we can see this Battlemech can pitch, this yellow area is how much it can pitch up and down. So if we want to look up, again, we don't use our neck, we pitch up at the waist, or we bend at the waist to look down. So this tells us how far that angle is on that pitch. And then we see we get a little bit more on our arms can reach up as well, or reach down. So the next thing we have is this yaw angle, and this is that side-to-side motion. So I can turn my waist as far as this yellow arc. So he can turn pretty far, and then this orange here is how much farther you can get by pointing your arms to the side as well. So if you're wondering how far your Battlemech can look up, look down, look left or right, come right here. It tells you how, and since we're talking about the legs as well, here's our acceleration stuff, so this is how fast you'll be moving. If you want more information about this, check out my other tutorials about the UI. I go into a huge amount of detail there for the other stuff, but I do want to point this out since we are talking about our torso twist and our pitching and how our Battlemechs move. Here's all that information. So let's go look at a different mech. Let's go look at an assault. And let's pick the Direwolf because he's not nearly as mobile. So you can see he doesn't pitch nearly as far, nor can he twist nearly as far. So if you're looking for this information, this is where you can find it, and we can see how our Battlemechs move. So let's go back to our light mechs and our Arctic Cheetah. Now that we've talked about how this works, I do want to show you some things, and maybe this will help you out if you're struggling with controlling your Battlemech. And I'm going to go out to the testing grounds. I talk about this a lot in my videos. It's very important in my opinion, so I always show players when you have the opportunity. So head to the Home tab, come over your navigation pane, hit Testing Grounds, and then you can pick any map in the game. Or you can say random, it gives you a random one. I am going to pick Tourmaline Desert because it's got some nice wide open areas, so we can look at what's going on with our Battlemech here. So we'll hit OK, and then it'll do a loading screen like we're going to a match, and it'll drop me into the map I've selected with some dummy targets. I do like to show this every opportunity I get. I see a lot of people getting angry because they get shot in the back because someone was test firing their weapons and we had an accident. If you need to test fire your weapons, come out here and do it so you don't hit people by accident. Just something that I really want to impress upon newer players, that this is where you want to be doing that. Don't be doing it on your friend's back. So we'll start moving around a little bit. So see, I hit the W key and I'm going forward. I wanted to turn, and I'm hitting that, in that case, the A key. We'll hit the D key, we'll turn again. And you can see that my whole machine is turning, not just part of it. and I keep moving straight on my legs. So if I turn my torso to the left a bit, see, I'm still moving the same direction. My legs are still just going forward, but I can look a different direction. So let's get over here in this get over here in this open spot, and we'll stop, and we'll go over some things that are probably pretty important. I'm gonna hit the escape key, and what that'll do is it'll let me interact with my HUD a little differently. So we'll hit escape, and we'll see there's some things occurring, like I get a pointer, I can mess with my settings, resume the game, quit the match, exit the game, and I can also point. So what I want to do is point. So let's talk about some things that we see. Here's my battle grid. If you need to know more about the battle grid, check out my tutorial there. I show you how to use it there. But here's what's important about it for what we're talking about. See this yellow triangle? That's the representation of my Battlemech. This line and arrow pointing here, that tells me where my legs are pointed. This other arc tells me what I can see. So as I twist my torso, we'll see this arc move, but this line won't move. So let's go ahead, hit escape again. So I'll start moving forward. Now watch my arc move. See, my arc's moved. I'm seeing different things, but the arrow's there to still tell me what direction my legs are pointed towards. So we'll stop again, and we'll go back, and we'll look at some other things that can help us out. So first of all, in your settings, if we come up here into the game settings, there is a directional arrow. So if I turn this back on, and we'll go back to the game, and I do want to save my changes. Now you see that line that's on my mini-map? It's now something I can see on screen. So there's my line. That tells me where my legs are pointed. So if I start moving again and then I turn away, you can see I can't see that line anymore. But what I do get is a little indicator on the bottom right there that tells me where to turn to point my legs. It's in a circle. It looks like a couple legs and it's blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop, or maybe that's a light green. I don't know how other people perceive that color. I think it's blue. So we'll turn, and we'll get that to pop up. We'll hit escape, and I'll point at it. So right here, we see this circle, some Battlemech legs, and an arrow. So it's saying, hey, Spike, your legs are pointed this way. If you want to line up, turn right. Turn your torso right. So we'll go back, and we'll turn our torso right, and we'll see that indicator go away, and I get my line back. So if you're struggling with that, come out to the testing grounds and practice. There you have pointers that tell you exactly where everything is. If you want to use this during a live match, if it helps you, use it. I see a lot of people running around in matches using this feature, so please don't worry that someone's going to see that and go, oh, what a noob, he's using the leg indicator. Don't worry about that. If it helps you play, use it. It's what it's there for. I do have the default settings, so when I turn left or right, my legs left or right, I use the A and D keys, and then to spin my torso, I'm just using my mouse. Again, you might notice mine set higher than yours. I do like to be able to do snap aiming, so I have mine set up higher. I have a button that lets me slow down my DPI, so those type of things, do whatever works the best for you, but I do want to show you, so that's how our legs and torsos are working together. Now, there's a couple keys that get really important here. So let's say that I've been running around and I'm fighting somebody and I'm really confused and I don't know where my legs are anymore, and I really need to get aligned with my legs because I'm having some issues. If I hit the C key, what that will do is turn my torso to face my legs. So we'll do that again to show you that. And again, I'm using the default key bindings, so you can set this to whatever you like. So let's say I've been fighting and I'm all confused and I'm turned over here. I don't know where my legs are and I want to face my torso to my legs. I hit the C key. There we go. Everything's all lined up again. So let's say in a different scenario, I'm fighting somebody and I know where they are. I know they're here. I know where my legs are. And I see this guy come up right over here. Let's say we have a Battlemech right here where I'm pointing with my cursor and I want to fight him. So let's say I'm running just as fast as I can. And we'll get up to full speed here and we'll run. And I want to come over here. And as I'm coming down, I see him. Oh, there he is. I want to get him. I want to get him. He's right there. So if I hit the X key, it will make me stop. And that's not the key I meant to hit. So what we'll do is we'll show you a couple things about the settings that you may not know. There's also a key to move your legs to where your torso is pointed. I thought it was the X key. I don't use it very often. I usually want to do the other way around. So we'll go to settings and we'll go to keyboard and we'll look at the bindings and we'll look that up real quick. So if you ever have questions about how your stuff or how your keys are bound, you can always come out here, double click where you want to assign. It'll ask you to bind key and then click again and you'll be good to go. We'll escape out of that because I don't want to change that binding. So let's go back to our keyboard and we'll look for where our legs are. Center legs is F. As you can tell, I don't use that one. A lot of times I just want to line up with my torso. Actually, a lot of times I don't even use the key binds, but they're there. If they help you out, use them. So we'll go back and we will talk about where I want it to be in the first place. So there's a guy here. I see him. Oh, I want to go fight him. I hit the F key, and now my legs are pointed at where I'm facing, so I can continue to run up here and engage the guy that I wanted to engage in the first place. So now that we've seen that, let's take a look and see what's actually happening with our machine. So what we'll do is we will come out and we will go into first person view, which is F3. So as you can see, there are my legs, and let's see if we can point at things. As you can see, I do have a little bit of motion in that pivot point, but not a whole lot. We have a little bit of motion in our waist, but not a whole lot. So let's turn this Battlemech and see what happens. You see how I'm kind of leaning into my turn? I'm using my legs and feet to more steer, but you can see that my hips aren't moving a whole lot. But you can see my torso's kind of pitching as I change direction. So let's go ahead and use our C and F keys again, and we will take a look and see what happens. So I want to look this way. You can see my legs are still going straight, but I'm looking this way. So let's center up, and there we are. Everything's all aligned again. And let's look this way, hit our F key, and we'll center up, and everything's all aligned again. So keep those in mind. Those might help you steer using those C and F keys, rather than trying to line your torso up. Now there is one last thing I do want to talk about in this video before we can say we're done here. As you can see, as I'm pivoting, the ring is turning. So keep that in mind. That's how things work. I'm going to hit the A key. We'll see that my feet are what's moving. I'm not sidestepping. This will get a circle. So Battlemechs don't sidestep. Keep that in mind. I've actually been playing MechWarrior Online so much and for so long that when I play a game with sidestepping, I get horribly confused. So let's hit our escape button again, and we'll point at our HUD some more, and we'll tell you the last thing that you probably need to know about aligning your Battlemech. So let's say you don't want to use the arrow and the leg indicator that I showed you at the beginning of the video. There is another indicator, and I don't think a lot of people know about it. It's this one right here. This top triangle lets me know where my torsos are aligned, and this bottom one tells me where my legs are. So let's go ahead and we'll crank to the left some here. You can see that those triangles are separated. So we'll hit escape again and we'll point at them. So you can see that I'm 220 degrees off my legs here. There was where my legs are pointed. That's where my torso is pointed. So I'll keep that in mind. You can also use this indicator to help you align things. When these two triangles are pointing to each other, so this point right here, this point right here, when those are touching, that means your Battlemech's aligned. So we'll hit escape, then we'll hit C, and we'll see those two triangles snap together. This has been a look at how your Battlemech's steering works in combination with its legs and its torso. I hope you found this video useful. It's kind of a newer style of video for me, so let me know how you liked it. If there's anything I can improve, I'd be more than happy to redo it. As I said, if there's any questions, concerns, you'd like to hear more about a particular lore topic that I mentioned, leave me a note in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to address your questions or issues as appropriate. And as always, have great luck on the battlefield, and I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.